Hi, I'm Mike Stephen and this is Gear Up. Today we're going to talk about pedals. One of the simpler parts of the bike that has gotten confusing a little bit over the last few years. And even further than that. Clipless pedals have been out for quite some time, and that's what we're going to spend the majority of this talk talking about. First, we're going to go over the flat pedal. The flat pedal is a pedal very similar to what you're probably used to riding. Has a big platform on it. This one has different height spikes, so you can adjust the height level of the spikes to grip into the bottom of the shoe. And so this is a little bit more of an aggressive pedal maybe than you're used to, but the whole idea is that the shoe mates with the pedal and you have an incredibly good grippy platform. The people that use these a lot are your everyday person that maybe hasn't gone and purchased aftermarket pedals. The other people that use these are people like dirt jumpers, downhill racers. Whereas if you are able to recruit your hamstring, you can actually make yourself more pedaling efficient. What I'm saying by that is when you push down on a standard flat pedal, you're using your quad. So as you push down each pedal stroke, that's how you're gaining momentum to move down the trail or move down the road. Well, while this foot is pushing down, this foot's getting a free ride to the top. So the whole idea behind clipless pedals, which are pedals that you can snap into, is that as you push down on the one side, you're lifting with the other side using the opposite muscle group, your hamstring, which is a very big muscle group. So I've heard reports of up to 30% more efficiency by doing that because you're recruiting another whole muscle group to help move you down the road. So give you an idea, in pro road or pro cross country mountain biking, there won't be a rider on the circuit that isn't clipped in. And what I mean by clipped in is that your shoe actually interfaces with the center of the pedal right here. So when that interfaces, it clips in, and now you're able to pull up as hard as you want and the pedal won't release. The pedal will release, however, if you turn your foot to the side. So clipless pedals allow you to recruit the whole hamstring, the back of your leg. There's also many different styles of clipless pedals. And why they call them clipless, just because it's kind of confusing. You're saying, Mike, you're clipping in, but you're calling these things clipless. The reason why they call them clipless is because back in the day, you used to use toe clips, the baskets that go over your toes to do the same thing. And when you went away from the toe clips or the toe baskets, they called it clipless, even though you're clipping in or snapping in to the bike. A lot of people have a little bit of reservations maybe about clipping into a bike and saying, hey, if I'm attached to my bike, isn't that going to be scary? Well, you know what? It is a learning curve and it does take some time to get used to clipping in and unclipping. And I do recommend going into a door frame or riding around on a nice soft lawn somewhere to get used to clipping in and clipping out, because it's not first reaction, or it's not intuitive right off the bat. But as you get more and more used to them, it will become like second nature to you, to clip in by stomping down and to clip out by leading with your heel or twisting to get out. The other question we get often is, well, what happens when you crash? Well, if you do unfortunately have a crash, the chances of you going perfectly straight up like this is not very good. A crash is usually off to the side and you're kind of tumbling, and the moment your foot turns, you become released from the bike. The only types of falls that I've ever seen someone stay clipped in on, you pull up to a stop sign and you forget to turn your heel. And by the time you've remembered, hey, I got to turn my heel, you've already fallen over. Then you might be in the pedals because you've just kind of fallen over. Whereas if you do have a higher speed crash, you are going to tumble, and the pedals are kind of the least of your worries. I've never seen someone stay attached to a bike. Okay, so actually we'll come back to this, and we've just kind of briefed on clipless. Let's talk about why this pedal has a frame around it as opposed to this one, say, maybe not having a frame around it. The whole idea of the frame around here is that it gives a little bit more grip and a little bit more maybe edgeability on the bike. And what I mean by that is that as you're rolling into a corner, you're pressuring your pedals. So somebody that's much more aggressive on the descents, like a downhill racer or an enduro rider, would love a pedal like this that gives you a little bit more power around the corners to pressure the pedals, get those tires into the ground a little bit more. Yes, you're clipped in the center, but you have more leverage if you have this platform around you. The other person that might like this is somebody that says, you know what, I don't clip in all the time. I want the ability to just to stand on top of the pedal and not to be clipped in. So you can do that with this. It's a bigger surface area than this. So there's all sorts of different uses for that. Another use might be if you said, hey, I'm just running down to the store, I've got my bike, I'm just running down to the store and I want the ability to just put my foot flat on there in a pair of flip-flops or shoes or whatever, regular cycling shoes versus, regular shoes versus cycling shoes. You could just put your foot on there and pedal pretty normally. Whereas if you're pedaling on that, it's kind of uncomfortable. Okay, so we may as well go over this pedal next. Who would use this? Somebody that wants a lighter weight pedal, somebody that weight is a big concern. So like a cross-country rider or somebody that's worried about efficiency and trying to get faster on their bike. A smaller pedal is a lot lighter. And if you're not really focusing on that descent kind of thing, you can actually get a little bit more pedal for your distance out of something like this because of the weight savings. The other thing that's kind of neat about this pedal is if you look, there's holes right through here. I don't know if you can see that, but there's holes right through the pedal. So if you do have mud or something on the bottom of your shoe when you're going to clip in, it squishes right past the axle and it self-clears. So these things do still work in mud. Sometimes you have to tap your shoe a little bit, very similar to tapping your ski boot when you got snow on the bottom of it. But sometimes you have to do that to get into pedals. We mentioned that person that might want to run down to the store or that person that might not always want to be clipped in. A lot of those people are either intermediate riders or somebody that just says, you know what, I want this as a dual purpose bike. I'm going to be commuting on it, but I'm also going to pedal in the forest. And there are pedals that are on one side, a normal pedal. On the other side, a clip-in. So there's lots of choices in pedals to let you decide what makes the most sense for you. Does it make sense for you to be clipped in all the time or just some of the time? For example, on my cross-country bike, I run this pedal because it's all I need. On my enduro style bike, I do run this pedal. And back in the day when I did downhill and did dirt jumping, I did use a flat pedal because if you need to come off the pedal nice and quick and angle your feet for different, in the air a lot of times you've got to angle yourself to prepare for landing. A clipless pedal just doesn't offer quite the mobility that you get out of a flat pedal. So there's a few pedals there. I'm going to talk a little bit about the shoes and why you might get a different shoe for cycling. A few reasons. One, the rubber that they use on the bottom of the sole is extremely tacky. This company is using what's like a climbing rubber for people that are mountain climbers. The shoes that they use are extremely tacky rubber. This is the same rubber they're using in their climbing shoes. So as I kind of explained a little bit previous, these spikes or whatever your pedal is, it really digs in. It gives you a rock solid foundation there. So one is the type of rubber that the soles are using. Another thing is that the forefoot's going to be a little bit stiffer so that you don't bend around the pedal, so that the shoe doesn't fold around the pedal. Because if you're going for a ride for a long time and the shoe is folding around the pedal, that's going to make you pretty tired and it's going to fatigue your foot because your foot is constantly doing this over top of the pedal versus staying nice and flat. So a couple things that happen in a cycling shoe is, and that's a non-clip cycling shoe, this is just one that you'd wear just pedaling around, downhilling, enduro, whatever. But a non-clippable shoe is a little bit stiffer up in the forefoot, a little bit softer rubber. Another thing that this is made out of, it's made out of a material that doesn't absorb water, so it stays at the same nice light weight. Even when it's wet out and mucky, it doesn't absorb a lot of water, so it keeps nice and light underfoot. Another whole category that we can talk about here is road. And road is probably the one area where you see 95% of even the recreational riders using clipless because it is a huge advantage, and you've got a lot more time out on the road to unclip and clip in and think about what you're doing. There isn't as scary of descents, stuff like that to make you nervous. Whereas with a road shoe, if you look at the bottom of a road shoe, there's no real grip to it. These bolt holes are where you attach what's called the clip or the cleat. The cleat is attached to the bottom of the shoe there, and that's what interfaces with the pedal. Another question that we get asked quite often is, oh, I bought a pair of shoes, where's my clips? The clips or the cleats come with the pedal because they interface with the pedal. So the pedal and the cleat come in one package, the shoe comes in another package. So that's kind of how they're marketed, and that's how they sell at the retail level. So what's different about a road pedal? They're really concerned about weight here because shaving off weight on road bikes is what they're all about. So this is a carbon pedal with a blade spring, a carbon bladed spring, so it really lightens up this pedal. The other thing they're looking for is a bigger surface area. The cleats or the clips on a road bike is a much bigger surface area. The reason why is because road riding, a lot of times you'll be putting in a lot longer kilometers, like a Gran Fondo or something like that. And you can get hot spots on your feet. Even with a stiff shoe, you can get hot spots. So if you increase your surface area, you've got a little bit more of a platform to stand on. On those really long rides, your feet won't get irritated. Is it nicer to have a road setup and a mountain setup if you do both? Yes, it is. But there is some crossovers that you can use. There's some pedals that'll work for both mountain and road. What you'll do is you'll actually buy a mountain shoe and then go with two different styles of pedals. And then that way you can kind of cut down your costs a little bit. Or you could even transfer the pedal from bike to bike to cut down on your costs a little bit. So yes, a mountain, the principle of recruiting the hamstring is the same whether it's road or mountain. Are they specific? Yes, they are, but can you make them work? Yes, you can. So the last thing I'll go over is a little bit about the shoe in a road shoe. They've gotten rid of all the grips, so they're a little bit interesting to walk on. Roadies don't usually have to walk on their shoes that much unless to get a coffee at your local coffee bar. Other than that, they should be kind of firmly clipped into their bike and putting the kilometers on. So they don't waste extra weight by putting shoe material on here. They're extremely stiff, again, to try to get rid of that hot spot underneath the metatarsal head of your foot or right underneath the meaty part of your foot. So they're extremely stiff. The other thing is they're extremely light and breathable because, again, if you're out there on a 30-degree day or a 35-degree day, it's nice to have a little bit of airflow moving, including airflow coming right from the bottom of the sole. If you can kind of see that little vent hole there, that little vent hole allows the air to be pulled right through the shoe. So that's a little bit on clipless pedals. If you have any questions about clipless pedals, pop down to your local bike shop. I'm sure they'll have some examples of clipless pedals and they can kind of set you up in what makes sense for you, because there is, as you can see, a whole plethora of options. But get the right setup for you to be comfortable and to get those hamstrings recruited, make you a little bit faster on your bike and more efficient on your bike. Thanks for watching Gear Up. I'm Mike Stephen. Hi, I'm Mike Stephen, and this is Gear Up. Today we're going to talk about bike racks. You've got your bike, it's great, it's awesome, you're having tons of fun with it, but you want to take it somewhere else, or you live quite far away from the trails and don't want to ride the road to the trail. There's lots of different options for bike racks, but there's definitely some standout winners that have kind of floated to the top of bike racks that are convenient and easy to use and very versatile. The first thing I'm going to go over is the pickup pad. It's probably the fastest, most economical way you can store a bike on a vehicle. What you do need is a pickup truck for these because it hangs over the tailgate. So anything with a tailgate, it could hang over. If you have an El Camino, it would work. So pickup pads look a lot like this. I'm sure you've seen them on the back of trucks, zipping around town, but they sit like this on the back of a truck. The fork and the front wheel come out of the back of the truck and hang over the tailgate. The rest of the bike sits in the box of the truck. It only uses up a small portion of the box, so there is plenty of room left for gear in between the bike and the tailgate. There's like a little triangle of space in there that you can put helmets and whatever else you need to put in there. And then it still leaves you a few feet of box to put coolers or whatever else you might be taking on your camping trip or whatever you're doing. So it doesn't utilize your whole box to take some bikes. This pickup pad in particular has slots for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bikes, so you could fit 7 bikes on there. That'd be a tight fit on most trucks, but I'd say 6 would fit there quite comfortably. They're designed to be strapped in. You can see these guys right here are designed to strap the top tube of the bike to the tailgate. And sorry, not the top tube, the down tube, which is the big thick tube on your bike. There's really not many limitations on what bikes can and can't fit on this. I find road bikes are a little bit floppy, but other than that, all mountain bikes work really well. Kids' bikes work quite well. But this is probably the most inexpensive way to put a bunch of bikes in the back of a truck and have them well protected and not shifting and not moving. So this is a great option if you have a pickup truck. If you don't have a pickup truck, you've got, say, a small car and your car doesn't have a hitch on it. Then there's all sorts of different, I call them spider straps, because they look like spider legs kind of climbing onto your vehicle. And what happens is each one of these little straps comes out and it goes into the little joins between your trunk or your hatchback and clip in. So 2 go to the top, 2 go to the sides to stabilize, 2 go to the underneath of the frame. The only negative to this style of rack is that you've got to take it on and off each time you get in and out of your trunk or your hatchback. You've got to be taking it off quite often. So every time you want to load your bikes, you've got to reattach this, take it on and off. There's no kind of real simple way to leave it attached to your vehicle. The other problem is that the bikes are sitting across like this on here. So the top tube of the bike, or the long tube that you're looking down at when you're sitting on the seat, that top tube is going across like this. If you have an angled top tube, like on a lady step-through bike, or if you have a funky suspension design that the shock's in the way, you can run into problems with this style of rack, and it just won't work for the bike. Or you'll have to buy an accessory called, we've nicknamed them cheater bars, and what it does, it makes a line or puts a bar on your bike. It's a quick clip-on system that you clip from your handlebar to your seat to make a nice flat bar. So there is a potential of using that kind of thing. But like I say, this style of rack is if you don't have a hitch mount on your vehicle. The style that has become probably the most popular is hitch mount. A lot of people, even with a small car, are putting hitches on their small car, put a 2-inch receiver onto their small car, and all of a sudden you're able to haul bikes very efficiently. Back in the 90s, on top of your roof was very popular. But the negatives of on top of your roof is, A, it's on top of your roof. You've got to reach up and put your bike up there and attach it on while it's on top of the roof of your vehicle. So for somebody that's taller, it might be easy, but somebody that isn't quite as tall, they're actually quite difficult to operate and get up there. Or somebody that isn't quite as strong, it's a little bit harder, so it's a little bit more labor intensive to get the bike up there. The other things that are happening is if you're going on a long trip, those bikes are up in the bugs and the wind and all that. So not only are you reducing your fuel economy on your car, but you're drastically going to reduce your vacation time, because when you get to wherever you're going, you're going to have bugs and all sorts of stuff caking your bike, and you're going to have to spend a bit of time cleaning it. Because bike guts aren't good for certain parts of the bike, the fork stanchions in particular on suspension bikes. The guts can actually eat that stuff, so you want to clean that off. So thus why hitch mount are becoming more popular. The hitch is at a low point on the vehicle, so they're nice and low to load. The hitch is also behind the vehicle so that you're out of the wind and out of debris kind of spitting at you. And some of the unique things that they've done to hitch mount racks to make them easier are the collapsibility of them. So you're going to have anywhere from an economical hitch mount, maybe in the, say, $200 range, all the way up to, you can probably spend $1,000 on a hitch mount system. And what's going to happen is they're going to get more and more convenient to use and faster and easier to use. This is a middle of the road one that we've chosen to show you here today. But some of the things that this guy can do is this guy can actually fold down out of the way. So this upper mast, if you want to get into your trunk or into your hatchback, you can actually fold this mast out of the way just by, there's a little clip right here, and I'm going to have to stand on this to move it. Oh, you know what? I've got this in the way. There we go. That makes it much easier to fold it out of the way so that you can get into your trunk or your hatchback. Again, if you're not using the rack, to fold it up out of the way so you don't end up shinning yourself on one of these trays or tripping over the rack, you can actually pull this lever and pull it up against your vehicle. So now it's kind of in snug against your vehicle. Most trunks and stuff like that can still open with it up against the vehicle, or some hatchbacks I should say, depending on your vehicle. To get a bike ready to go on here, again, you're just going to flick this little switch here, let it fold down into position, get the mast in the upright position, and you can kind of hear it clicks into place. One of the things I love the most about this style of rack is how fast and easy a bike is to load onto it. So I'm going to show you with this road bike here, and if you're not strong enough to lift the whole bike up, you can actually do it one wheel at a time. So believe it or not, you can actually get your kids to do this. Then you push down on that, and the bike's on the vehicle. So when you look at these platform style racks, how fast and easy they mount onto the vehicle, that's why they've gotten so much attention, and so much people that have researched racks are going to this. It's called a platform style rack. You can get them for 1.25 inch or 2-inch receivers, so depending on what receiver you have on your vehicle. If you go past 2 bikes, you have to go to a 2-inch. Just a lot of leverage there on the back of the vehicle. So you have to go to a 2-inch receiver hitch if you're wanting to carry more than 2 bikes. The other thing that's happening now is electric bikes. Electric bikes are coming on the scene, and electric bikes are a little heavier than your average bike. So make sure that the spec of your rack is able to support the weight of the bikes that you're putting on it. So that's something that you'll need to know, is how much your bikes weigh. Most racks will carry up to about 45 pounds per bike. Unless they're e-bike specific, then they'll actually carry a little bit more weight than that, or one of the more robust higher end models will carry more than that. Other than that, there is security on these guys. So the security is one lock right here. You can turn the key, that stops this from lifting up. It also comes with a locking hitch pin, so somebody doesn't just steal the whole rack system off the back of your vehicle. So the one thing that I do say about bikes though is don't leave them anywhere. Yes, the locks, they'll slow someone down, but they won't stop someone indefinitely. Don't go parking your vehicle in Vancouver down on a busy street for the whole night. Like, it's not a good idea. So the best thing to use these racks for is to transport them to and from places, and then utilize your bike in that area and then get it back into a safe place. Yes, they are lockable, but don't trust those locks indefinitely. Trust them for a lunch or a dinner maybe, but I wouldn't trust them much longer than that. You know what? If you have any questions about bicycle racks, you can pop down to your local bike store, and I'm sure they'll help you out and fit you into the right bike rack that works for you. Some shops will even be able to install the hitch for you, so you can ask them about that. If you have any questions, like I say, pop down to one of those local bike shops and they'll help you out and get the right rack for you so that you can do your summer adventures. Thanks for watching Gear Up. I'm Mike Stephen.